Hey, it's James, Father's Rights and Resources. Hashtag HowiGotCustody. I want to talk about pictures and how they worked in my own case. I just got done talking to a gentleman who went to court and thinks that, it was hoping that a declaration would work for him in and of itself. But I can't emphasize enough how much pictures worked or helped in my case. When I first went to court, I was first dragged into court by my daughter's mother to try to do an anti-harassment order against me, saying I was harassing her because we were arguing over my right to see my daughter when she's withholding my daughter from me. So I'm supposed to just be happy with that and submit to her control. So she went to court and tried to get a restraining order against me. And one of the things she said is that the judge started realizing, look, the guy, James, just wants to see his kid. He doesn't want to see you. So can we arrange, while the restraining order's in place, him seeing his kid? And she's like, well, no. Well, he can't see him more than a couple hours because he can't see her, my daughter, more than a couple hours because she's breastfeeding. Well, I happen to have like about 30 exhibits in my declaration and paperwork. And I can't stand these stupid, moronic, airheaded attorneys who say, oh, don't do too much, that'll overwhelm the court. Based on what? Based on who? Where do you get that from? When you're going to court and you want to prove your case and you have a whole bunch of evidence, why wouldn't you submit a whole bunch of evidence? These stupid, idiotic attorneys come out of law school and their law firm says, well, don't submit too much stuff, just make it succinct and easy for the court to read. I call bullcrap on that. That's just my personal experience. But, what do I know? I got full custody of my daughter without an attorney in 7 months. But if I'm getting a consultation with an attorney or with anybody and they tell me, oh, do this or do that, I'll ask, okay, well, how well did that work for you when you got custody for other fathers? Or how many fathers did you help get custody with that strategy? And they'll say, well, basically what I always tell people, ask people where you got that from. Back up what you're saying. When I say this is what worked in getting me full custody, I provide a copy of my custody order on my website. Or when I talk about winning in the Court of Appeals, how I won in the Court of Appeals, I provide a winning order granting discretionary review, which is harder than winning an appeal, and a reversal I got in the Court of Appeals. I back up what I'm saying. So, a gentleman I was just talking to, an attorney said, oh, just don't give him more than a few pages of a declaration. You don't want to overwhelm him and stuff. And I'm like, I max out the page limits that I'm allowed. I want to put every single piece of evidence that I got in there. Why would you not want to do that? If an attorney says something like that, say, okay, well, how well did that work for you? But I worked with over 200 guys, and I stopped counting at 200 that I've helped. I didn't really help them, but I've helped them find resources and information and things like that. And then I shared with them my strategies and how things worked for me. And they ended up getting full custody without an attorney. I don't know another attorney who's helped 10 guys get full custody. So when they say, go do this, see, this is how stupid people are. The attorney will say, well, don't do this and don't do that. And don't piss off the judge and this and that. Their whole goal is, I don't want to piss off the judge. What about the end goal of getting custody or 50-50 or visitation or equality? That's not even in their mindset. They're thinking, oh, you're going in front of a judge or a commissioner? Oh my gosh, we gotta not piss them off. We gotta not look too bad. Where's the end goal of actually winning in your mind? So if you ask somebody like that, if you ask them, okay, how well has that worked for you in succeeding in getting somebody custody? They'd probably say, well, I never try and get custody because they're not going to give custody for dads. And the reason why they don't give custody is because nobody ever asks and nobody ever tries. And there's a culture of just giving every other weekend to dads because that's the routine, because there's a bunch of man-hating bigots in family court who assume that kids need mothers more than fathers. And where do they get that from? Nobody challenges the court on that. So I'm trying to overcome stupid jackassedness in the court system. I would never listen to an attorney unless they told me this worked on 100 different cases of mine. But you ask an attorney, how did that work? Or in other cases, they'll say, they'll be stumped because all they're doing is feeding you temporary immediate information for the here and now, not the long-term goal of let me win at the end or how am I going to win at the end. It's, oh, what do you do to get by right now to not piss off a judge? Why is that even a priority in your head? You know, speaking of the attorney. So that being said, I overwhelm the court with evidence. I come in, when I first went to court, I had text messages, I didn't have text messages at the time, emails. It was 2001, so nobody was using cell phones that much. I had messages, I had a letter the mother signed, agreeing that I paid all this cash and took a second job and all this other stuff. She wanted me to throw it away, but I kept it. I had a million pictures of me and my daughter. I probably had like 20 pages of pictures with pictures 2 up or 4 up on a page. And so when the mother came to court and said, Your Honor, you know, James could see the baby, but not for more than 1 or 2 hours. And we lived 3 blocks away, and my daughter was 2 months old at this time. And she had withheld her from me from like 40 days total in the end after the initial battle. She said, oh, James can't see her for more than an hour or 2 because she's breastfeeding. And so I said, Your Honor, will you turn to Exhibit 17? Look, there's a picture right there of me bottle feeding my daughter. So, if I didn't have that picture of me bottle feeding my daughter, and it's my word against hers, and she says she's only breastfeeding, guess who they're going to believe? They're going to believe the breastfeeder, not me. So a picture is literally worth 1,000 words. And I think at that point, the judge who was in the restraining order court, he was a criminal judge named Douglas McBroom. And he was just did criminal law. He didn't know anything about family law, and he was hesitant to grant a restraining order against me because I basically said, which was, I think, the #1 argument for guys who were dealing with restraining orders. I was like, when I started realizing the judge was being bamboozled by her and her psychotic witch sister and this puppy dog of a follower lady who testified against me, and her only testimony was like, yeah, James calls the house. A couple of her roommates, her sisters, and this other lady she lived with sharing a house. James calls the house, and the judge's like, well, how many times? She's like, you know, I don't know. So there's just a bunch of people in there trying to pile it on and make me look like a harassing monster. And so the judge, after, I think he was convinced after I proved that she lied with a picture, then he was hesitant to listen to her, and he's like, I don't want to take the kid away. And then I said, well, I'm sorry, I didn't get to the #1 argument is, I could care less whether I talk to her ever again. All these women were like, keep James away from her, keep James from wanting a relationship with her. I could care less at that point. And even if I did care, a girlfriend's not always going to be a girlfriend. That child is always going to be my child. I see a lot of guys who fight to maintain the relationship. Your Honor, I'm just trying to work out the relationship, and I'm trying to be cool with her, and I'm trying to be civil. I don't want to have this. Then you look like a psycho stalker because she doesn't want you, which I don't know why guys are so stupid. They go in there and try and look like the good guy by looking like they're obsessed with working it out with her, and they're too dumb to realize you look like a psycho stalker. But I distanced myself from her, and I just killed 99.9% of her argument because she said he's not dangerous to the child or anything. I just don't want a relationship with him. And I'm like, guess what? Me too. I care less whether I talk to her ever again. Just let me see my child. So I stole her thunder on that. But the pictures are worth 1,000 words. And the pictures stop them from doing anything. If my baby's mom is starting to say, oh, I'm crazy, or I could potentially, well, even after I got custody, her stupid attorney, who's a pathetic loser because he never wins in court almost unless I'm a no-show because I'm objecting, they go in there and say, I'm potentially going to be violent. And she proposed that I have full custody after I beat her up in court and she surrendered. And then I have pictures of me being tender and loving and sweet with my daughter and her being happy with me over the course of years. I had a PDF when I was going to go to try. I've actually submitted this in court. I have like 200 pages of a PDF of pictures 2 up since my daughter was a baby, bathing her, clipping her nails, feeding her, doing all these parenting functions, and just me and her in the pictures. You know, one guy took my advice, you know, that I think that about pictures. One guy decided to put pictures in front of the court, and he had like several pictures of his child, but not him. A picture is worth 1,000 words, and I would always put as many pictures and much evidence, text messages, emails, anything the mother ever said and did. Pictures of me and the mother originally when she was cool with me, right before she said I'm dangerous. Pictures are worth 1,000 words. I would always put them in my paperwork.